So I got an article for you today. The conversation. We research online misogynist radicalization. Here's what parents of boys should know. Now, the issue that I'm going to take with this, I have not read this article, but we're going to see if it's something that pans out in the end. So stick with me. But my point of view on this is misogynist radicalization is probably completely misleading, and it's just like boys being boys. Who cares? Like, these people will call me a misogynist because I'm like, I believe in traditional gender roles. Not because I don't think that women can work. Of course, they can work, but I think that we need to focus on family. Women are better at doing children, at raising children, than men are, if not for the sheer fact that they can bear children and they produce milk. Now, I know that there are people out there who are thinking, well, look at the stats. Look at the stats, anti-woke warrior. Women are the number one cause of the ending of children's lives. I get all that stuff, but that's largely coming from single moms, is my understanding. Single moms are causing all these problems, a lot of these problems. I mean, they're the lion's share cause of the issues that we see parents projecting onto children, I guess, projecting their own insecurities and issues and their own irrationality and wants and desires onto the children, causing problems for these kids. And then what happens is if you have a man in the house to rein the woman in, to, help unburden the woman and her raising of the children, etc., you don't have these issues nearly as much. But let's get into this article. Before we do, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Make sure that you're still subscribed. You can find me on Rumble and on Twitter. And I hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving this year. I'm not going to make a video for Thursday. Unfortunate, you'll miss out on the anti-woke warrior video for Thursday. But I don't expect I would get too many views on it. So we'll have one today, and then I'll just do two next week. Many parents are worried about their children using social media, but these concerns tend to focus on privacy, exposure to explicit material, or contact with strangers. All legitimate concerns. As researchers looking at sexism and misogyny in Australian schools and the influence of social media, we think it is also important for parents to understand how algorithms work. Okay, so Australia has gone off the deep end on the anti-boy, anti-male stuff. There have been infomercials, I guess, made in Australia. I think I've done videos on some of these things where they're like, yeah, don't be a boy, basically. Oh, and accusing men of doing, like all men would do, terrible things to women if they're given the opportunity. It's like, that's not, no. I mean, I wouldn't do terrible things to women if given the opportunity. Why would I want to hurt somebody? Why would I want to be disrespectful to another human being? That doesn't make any sense. These can drive misogynistic content towards boys and young men and make extreme views seem normal. Okay, so algorithms work. Maybe I'm wrong, but my understanding is if you click on something, the algorithm assumes that you like that, so it's going to send you another thing like that. And then if you click on the new thing that it sent you, and it's going to continue to assume that you like that sort of content and keep sending you that sort of content. It's based on a number of engagements. That's how algorithms work. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can correct me, dear viewer, down in the comments. What does research say about social media? Researchers are increasingly studying how social media can amplify social and political divisions. It is also shown how these platforms spread prejudice, hate speech, and misinformation. At the same time, researchers are identifying a growing divide between young men and women in their attitudes towards gender equality. Yeah, okay, that's because you don't know what gender equality is. Okay, so gender equality to these people means economic and political parity. 50% of the politicians in the world are female. 50% of the people working are female. The other 50%, of course, are male. And as far as economics are concerned, like 50% of the management in any company is female, 50% of the doctors are female, etc., blah, 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 so on and so forth. But this overlooks the unwritten, the unspoken, that which we shall not mention, benefits, privileges that women have, and that is that they can just walk outside, walk up to a man and be like, hey, you want to like touch my body in a nice way? And the men will be like, yeah, most likely. I mean, there's a 50% chance. I saw the social experiment done on this thing. I think it was done in Santa Barbara, which if you've never been to Santa Barbara, lots of attractive women there. But this woman was going around asking men to, if they wanted to get with her, and about 50% of the men said yes. A man did the same thing in the same social experiment, part of the same group, part of the same team, and I don't think any women said yes to him. So this is clearly a privilege that women have, and women can and have used this to their advantage throughout history. Animals exhibit this. They've studied monkeys. They've given monkeys vending machines, taught them how to use vending machines to get money, or vending machines to get food. They use money to enter the money into the vending machine to get food. So they've taught monkeys how to use money. And guess what happens? The male monkeys will give the female monkeys their token in exchange for sexual access to the female. So this is just a way that living organisms are on the planet Earth. At least those who are exhibiting sexual dimorphism. Our own research has found a disturbing increase in sexism, sexual harassment, and misogyny in Australian schools. This includes examples of boys physically intimidating women teachers in schools, gaslighting them, saying they are hysterical, describing gender inequality issues as myths, and saying things like, "Miss, your boobs look really big today." Okay, so what's wrong with giving a woman a compliment? That's my big question here. Because that seems like a compliment to me. Now, as far as describing women as hysterical, yeah, gender inequality issues as myths, yeah, those are myths. The gender inequality issues are actually, women have all the power now. Because we've taken away, just like I just explained about access to reproduction, we've taken away the male's station where he had some ability to say, look, if you want access to me, you have to present yourself as an acceptable female. Because the men were the ones who were most likely to be earning money. Now, there's no reason for women to go, I need to get a man so I can have a stable living situation, or I can have an economic growth in some way. They can go out and get their own bag. Well, that takes away men's power. Men have no power in the situation now. So that's already proven true. It's not a myth. And women are hysterical. Women are higher in neuroticism. We know this to be true. I'm not saying that to disparage women. I'm just saying it's a fact that psychologists will tell you that women are higher in neuroticism than men are on average. I mean, that leads to hysteria more often. Similar examples emerged from other Australian research this year. Our research done via interviews with Australian teachers suggests these views are influenced by the rise of figures from the manosphere, a collection of extreme men communities that are anti-women on social media. I am not anti-woman. You would call me part of the manosphere. I love women. I think they're amazing. I can't get enough of them. So, I mean, I live here with my wife who has her own business, earns more money than I do on an annual basis. I do things for her. She does things for me. I care very much about her well-being. I don't know what to tell you about how I'm not anti-woman. What else can I say? Not only am I not anti-woman, even I was like, oh, women are the worst. They are essential for the human race to exist. Much more essential than men are. We need more women than men for the human race to continue. We all know this. We all understand how reproduction works. How do algorithms work? How are boys and young men coming into contact with this content? Algorithms play a huge role in what we all see online. I'm glad that the algorithms do work because for whatever reason, I kept getting shown this one video. One video kept popping up on my YouTube. It was a Karen Strawn video, and I was like, oh yeah, whatever. It's this, like, the title was like something that would entice me, but I was like, oh, they're being ironic with this title. It's going to be all about how men are stupid and wrong and bad. And finally, I was like, I'll just get it out of my feed. And I clicked on it and I watched it, and my eyes were opened. It was like a huge weight had been lifted off of me, and I was finally seeing the truth, the light, and the way. Algorithms are set up by human coders, but once operational, they are automated pathways that direct content to social media users. They are optimized to get us to click, like, share, and view content and keep coming back. This is the key commercial goal of the so-called attention economy. The longer algorithms hold our attention, the more profit they generate for social media companies like Meta. So as a social media user demonstrates increasing interest in a specific content or activities, they receive more of it. Yeah, exactly. So if you see a video pop up and you're like, oh, that sounds interesting or whatever, let me click on that and watch that. I'll tell you how to get away from my channel popping up on your feed or any channel. If you don't like the video, if you're like, oh, this is stupid, this is not good, this is misleading, whatever is bad, whatever reason you don't like it, click the don't like option on YouTube, and you're much less likely to get another one of that creator's videos in your feed. Boys are fed misogyny online. Recent studies have shown us how boys and young men are being fed misogynistic content. A 2020 Australian study set up 10 experimental YouTube accounts. These included profiles of 4 boys under 18, 4 young men over 18, and 2 blank control accounts. 10. That's a representative sample size, let me tell you. It showed boys and young men were lured to the manosphere through recommended video features that pop up on YouTube Shorts, which feature shorter videos. This phenomenon was worse. The study found the algorithm was seen to optimize more aggressively in response to user behavior and show more extreme videos within a relatively brief time frame. Well, younger men are more aggressive. As you get older, you become less aggressive as you have less testosterone. Plus, you're just more tired. You're like, dude, I don't have time and energy to deal with that. I don't even care anymore. Also, you get a better perspective on the world and how it works. And you're just like, people are going to do stupid stuff. What can I do? Right? A 2024 Irish study made similar findings. Researchers created 10 fake profiles for TikTok and YouTube Shorts on 10 blank smartphones. On the two different platforms, the researchers created accounts for a 16 and 18-year-old boy who sought content typically associated with masculine gender norms for their age, such as gym, sport, and video games, a 16 and 18-year-old boy who sought manosphere content, and one blank control account. Okay, the misogynist manosphere content was sent to users regardless of whether those accounts actively searched for it. This was especially the case for the profiles set up as teenage boys seeking out content typically associated with masculine gender norms. All accounts were presented with masculinist, extremist, and anti-feminist content, and the frequency increased once their account demonstrated interest or engagement. Extremist. Can you define extremist? Extremist, it's extremist and anti-feminist. So it's both of these together because they don't know how to use commas. I'm assuming they don't know how to use commas, but I don't know for sure because maybe these two go together. Use your freaking comma the way you're supposed to, and we won't have these problems. I don't know. I have no idea. Okay, so it's masculine. Again, also you're going to have to define masculine. What is it? They defined it up here, I guess. A gym, sport, and video game. Are those the only things that are masculine? I don't know. Men are known to be physical, so gym and sport. And what do you consider sport? Do you consider rock climbing a sport? I don't consider rock climbing a sport unless there's some sort of competitive rock climbing circuit out there, which there probably could be. What are the other things that men like to do that are, male? Do men like working on cars? Do men like cars? Do men like making things with their hands? These are all things. Do men like making things on the computer? That's what I do. I make things on the computer. I'm a digital modeler, digital sculptor. Those are the things that I do. I make things on the computer. And that speaks very much to my lifestyle because I've never had a lot of money, so I could never get into like woodworking, into metalworking, these things that require like a facility or at least space and also materials. It's easy for me to get one computer. Yeah, the cost up front is exorbitant, but buying wood over how many years and buying the tools, of course, the tools are going to be exorbitant. If I want to be a woodworker, that's going to be cost prohibitive. It's going to be space prohibitive. It's going to be in a lot of ways more time consuming than what I do on the computer because I can make a whole like cybernetic character. It's going to take me hours and hours, but if I were to carve that in wood, it'd probably take me a lot longer. I don't know. I don't do woodworking, but I have done enough physical sculpture, etc., to understand that there are limitations and there are advantages to working on the computer. So here you have a very, very scary looking person here on the screen. I know that he's extraordinarily scary because he is male. That's all you need to know. It says research has shown how algorithms drive misogynistic content towards young men, whether they seek it or not. Okay. Yeah, they're trying to get the most bang for their buck. Advertisers use these platforms. Are you going to be sending boys videos on makeup? No, you're not going to send that to boys typically because boys aren't going to click on that. This is like economics 101. What the hell? How does misogynistic content radicalize boys? We believe that it occurs in very serious. We believe what is occurring is very serious. Sorry about my dyslexia. In our research, we use the term misogynistic radicalization to describe what is happening to some boys and young men. Yeah, it's so radical, man. This phrase was selected to capture a stark and sudden shift in boys' attitudes and behavior towards women and girls in Australian schools, which teachers report occurred at the return from lockdown and remote schooling. Yes. Do you know why that is? It's not radicalization. It's having your eyes open to the reality that we live in, that women are not the perfect little angels that we're told they are, that women already had all of the power, and giving men economic and political power was a way of leveling the playing field. That's an extremist idea. What I just said, that's what they're talking about. I'm a radical misogynist because I said that. Okay, that's how ridiculous this stuff is. Although radicalization is typically used to refer to the process of being recruited to religious or political terrorist ideology, research has identified misogyny as a feature of right-wing terrorism. Well, you just said right here it's political terrorism, and then down here you say it's right-wing terrorism. Same thing. What the hell? These people are so freaking stupid. They don't even understand what they're writing. Do they not have editors on this stuff? At the same time, the incel or involuntary celibate community, why add this in? Why add this in? This is so poorly written. If you're gonna, why don't you say involuntary celibate and then have incel in parentheses would be the better way of doing it. But you don't need any of that. Everyone knows what an incel is. If they don't, they can look it up. You're reading this on the internet. Do you think that maybe there's a repository here of human knowledge of what words mean? And also, it's clickable. Are you kidding me with this garbage? This is so poorly done. I can't even. Okay, we're not going to finish this, but we'll just go on a little bit longer. Okay, so at the same time, the incel community is also being seen as a possible terrorist threat. Of course it is, because a bunch of nerds who can't get laid sitting behind their computers are organizing to take on the entirety of humanity through fear tactics and violence. The problem is most of these guys who are incels are just like little weenies. I'm not saying that to disparage them. I'm just saying that as a fact. I mean that they tend to be thin and non-athletic. They tend to be chubby and non-athletic. They also tend to be non-aggressive, because to go out and meet a woman and get her interested in you takes aggression. It takes proactivity on your part. You have to be courageous enough to walk up to a girl and go, hey, I think you're cute. Will you go out with me, please? Or will you give me your phone number? Now, typically you don't just start that way. But I mean, maybe you say, hey, how you doing? I noticed that you're interested in this thing here. You have to go out in public. And most of these incels don't go out in public, don't want to go out in public, don't want to talk to women, don't want to even talk to anybody, let alone women. So the odds of this turning into some sort of terrorist movement are very, 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 very minimal. You might get individuals who are so frustrated and so angry that they do commit violent acts, like we saw with Elliot Rodger. But that's going to be a single individual. That's not going to be a group getting together. Okay, moving on. Incels who are mostly men and boys blame and resent women for their own inability to find a partner. Yeah, because women have made it difficult, if not impossible. Women have made it so much harder than it used to be, because it was expected that you'd go out and you would, there's going to be a girl, because you could only pair off with one and one. Marriage was expected. You weren't supposed to have sex before marriage. Men had the money. So what are women going to do? They're going to be like, yeah, I want to get with you because you have money, and I have to get with you because socially I have to get with you. In fact, I think there were laws even against, certain, no, there are laws against certain sex acts. So you got the money, I have to marry you, and it's got to be, I only marry one person. And if I want to have kids, it's expected that you would perpetuate the human species. So there you go. These people are they're just so lost. They're so focused on their ideology of, oh, women are oppressed. Oh, non-whites are oppressed. So we have to make sure we keep fighting the system. The system is broken for other reasons, not because of those things. We also know misogyny perpetuates gender inequality and biases that underpin violence against women. Yeah. According to you guys. If you're talking about true misogyny, yeah, probably, because misogyny literally means hating women. But when you're talking about somebody like me, then you're wrong, because I don't want people to hurt other people. Especially, I don't want to hurt women. I don't want women to be hurt. I don't want them to be the target of violence in any way. Okay? I don't want children to be the target of violence in any way either. But these things happen because human beings are freaking vile. While we are not suggesting boys and young people who are influenced by extremist, misogynist ideology will all become violent or recruited to other extremist groups, it is important to consider misogyny as both a form of extremism and as an ideology. Okay, misogyny is not an ideology. Misogyny is a word that has a meaning, and it is not an ideology. It just means woman hating. It's not, there's no church, okay? There may be groups of people coming together and commiserating being anti-female, but it's because they've been mistreated by women. It's because they've been mistreated by the system, which is female-centric, which is female-focused on making lives easier for women. Research shows young people who view misogynist content are likely to harbor unhealthy views on relationships. Okay, chicken and the egg. A 2024 UK study on teenagers also found manfluencer Andrew Tate's content is emotionally engaging for boys and young men. It encourages feelings of fear and anger, as well as belief in myths about gender equity. It encourages feelings of fear and anger. Can you please tell me how? I don't watch Andrew Tate enough to know. I've watched a few of his videos, and typically it's been workout videos, because his point of view, from what I've seen on dating, seems to be just be awesome, and then women will come to you because you'll have tons of money and you'll be like 6 feet tall and you have big muscles and all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, well, being 6 feet tall is not a reality for a lot of men. In fact, the majority of men are not 6 feet tall or taller. That's just how it is. So the men are the ones who are becoming extremists here, clearly, according to this article. What the heck? Women cannot be extremist at all, right? Women can't do that. Let's take a look here and see if they can become extremist. Can masculinity be redeemed? Now, this is an article by Isaac Chotiner, but the idea that masculinity needs to be redeemed is an extremist point of view. So right there, we're saying that men are inferior again. Now we got a woman here. I don't know her name because it's been blacked out, but it says Colton circumcision appointment is this Friday. Time to find out what being a boy mom is really all about. Ha! Low-key hoping he cries and cries and cries. That's what he gets for making mommy fat for the past 8 months. That's an extremist point of view. To want to torment your children because they are male is an extremist point of view. To want to torment your children because he made you fat for 8 months. Yeah, you chose to let a dude raw dog you, so it's an extremist point of view, all right. Here's a woman. Her name is Elmira, which is not a real name. I don't know who gave her that name. I'm assuming her parents did, but those people made up a name that's terrible and gave it to her. I feel sorry for you. And I can't pronounce her last name. It says, I ate cricket meat mince, and it was delicious. Here's why we should all be eating insects. That's an extremist point of view. Men are hopeless, but don't worry. Women will save America, as usual. Whether they like it or not, Liz Cheney before a firing squad, he's finally gone too far. I don't know what that subtitle there is all about. But that's by Michael Tamosky, but still, this idea that women are the ones who are going to save it is an extremist point of view. And this female-centric extremist point of view. There we go. Here's bees, and according to the image, based on the image that I can see here, at Cat Bees, I'm assuming Cat is short for Kathy or Catherine. Bees is a girl. And this is what Bees wrote. Anytime a man under 6 feet tall has sex with a woman, he is violating her because no woman would willingly consent to that. So, somewhere around 86%, 85% of the population, of the male population, are, the R word. Yeah. So every time I've been with a woman, because I'm under 6 feet tall, every time. Yep. Wow. Oregon governor, who is this woman here pictured in the image, signs bill removing reading, writing, and math requirements for high school kids to help students of color. That's an extremist point of view, if I ever heard one. Critiqued, it says here, Sweden's black minister of culture, who's pictured right here, she's a female, ordered Viking artifacts be melted down and recycled. Again, extremist point of view. Viking artifacts should not be melted down. They should be studied. They should be preserved. We should be honoring those who came before us, even though, the Vikings did some terrible, terrible things. They did some horrifying things to people. But, that's all part of human history that we should be willing to preserve, examine, understand, etc. Women are happier without children or a spouse, says happiness expert. I'm sure that happiness expert is a woman. I don't know, but it doesn't really matter because this is still a female-centric article about how women should not be with a man and they should not have children, which is an extremist point of view. The traditional conservative point of view is get married and have kids. There you go. Why guys get turned on when you orgasm and why that's a bad thing. Are you kidding me? Really? It says underneath that, of course, guys manage to make your orgasm about themselves. Yes, it is about men. Because there are women out there who are not getting any good loving, and then they meet this man who can give them the good loving. And then the man's like, yeah, I'm the man. What the hell? It's okay to be like, look, I accomplished something. I achieved something. I did something good for somebody else. Look how awesome I am. I bring something to the table that makes me a good catch for my partner. How is that a bad thing? No, it's an extremist point of view. How is that a bad thing? Yeah, it's an extremist point of view to have that, though. Right? It's an extremist point of view for her, for whoever wrote this article, to be like, yeah, it's a bad thing for men to appreciate the ability to make a woman orgasm. Okay, you stupid. Here's one that's horrifying. 21-year-old victim of assault and attempted violation was hesitant to call police because her attacker was black. That's an extremist point of view. It's a very extremist point of view. It doesn't matter what color your attacker is. You tell the police because guess what? What if his next victim is a 13-year-old who can't fight back? These people. We can't have a feminist future without abolishing the family. And it even says in the subtitle, the feminist thinker Sophie Lewis has a radical proposal for what comes next. Yeah. My daughter identifies as an animal. This is what I want you to know. Your daughter's not an animal. That's all we need to know. Shut up. Your daughter's not an animal. Women are struggling to find men who are tall, good-looking, rich, confident, well-endowed, and willing to date single mothers with multi-ethnic children. Here's what's wrong with all men. Now, these women shown here in the image are mostly naked and attractive. But guess what? Men don't want to be with women who are single moms, women who have been irresponsible, disrespectful of themselves and the future men that they want to be with. Because I'm sorry, ladies, I know you don't understand this because it's an extremist point of view that you think is not extremist. But being a garden tool is disrespectful to the man you're going to end up with. This was brought out in a very painful way. If you watch the movie Chasing Amy, watch that movie. It's from 1997, Ben Affleck. Oh, it's just horrifying what this guy finds out about his girlfriend. So, oh, here you have Emma Watson, good old Emma. Another made-up name, by the way. Emma's not a real name. It is time that we all see gender as a spectrum instead of two sets of opposing ideals. First off, gender is not a set of opposing ideals. It is simple biology. That's an extremist point of view to say that gender is a spectrum. We don't have to read this whole thing here, but what we need to know is that the woman here says, I want my fiance to get rid of his 4-year-old daughter. Yeah, that's an extremist point of view. You don't expect I mean, if this role was reversed and a man was like, yeah, I want my fiance to get rid of her 4-year-old daughter. This is not, yeah. He'd be worse than Hitler. Must reads, STDs in women are skyrocketing. Officials think racism and misogyny may be to blame. Yeah, well, women have the ability to keep their legs closed or to demand that a man use barrier protection or to use barrier protection themselves. Women think that them not having sex is like some sort of oppression. And it's like, well, I don't get to have sex whenever I want to. We just saw the article, incels. Most incels are men, right? They said that in the article. Men don't get to have sex whenever they want to, but no, it's not an oppression of men. They're just losers. It's their fault. It's their problem. They're the problem with the world. Incels, men in general, they're the problem. It's not the women. The women are not extremists. You're telling me here that blaming STDs on racism and misogyny is not an extremist position? Okay. And we're going to end off with this funny meme. Unfortunately, it's a little bit blurry, and I wish that the drawing was not a drawing, but actually just a person. They got a photograph of a man here. Why can't they have a photograph of a feminist here? How to identify a toxic person? And underneath the crazy looking person with a cat hood on, it says regular person. And it says, for the regular person is saying, I guess, you don't need to improve, just love yourself. Weight is not an indicator of health. Why would you train and diet? Just watch Netflix, eat ice cream, and love yourself instead. Why would you try to fix the root causes of your issues? Just take SSRIs your entire life. And then it says, you're heckin' cute and valid. I don't know what heckin' means. I guess it's supposed to be hella, maybe? The PC version or the G-rated version of hella. The one thing about SSRIs, I think that's a good thing to point out, is like mental health issues. Are you depressed? Are you angry? Oh, take your SSRI. Well, are you legitimately depressed? I mean, do you have a legitimate reason to be depressed and angry? Are you an incel? For example, women don't talk to you. You don't know how to talk to women. Women blow you off. Women mistreat you. Women are abusive to you. Women are disrespectful to you. Yeah, maybe you got a good reason to be depressed and angry then. So maybe figure that out as best as you can. Obviously, in America, in the West in general, but especially in America, it's rough, guys. I know. Now, underneath the so-called toxic person here, we have a picture of a very athletic man. It looks like he's a competitive bodybuilder. It says, you can be better. Just believe in yourself and do the work. I noticed you've been feeling down lately. Want to hit the gym later? Mental issue? Let's get to the bottom of them and fix the cause. You got to lose some weight. You'll feel amazing. Yeah. And finally he says, just because you don't feel like it doesn't mean you should slack off. You got to finish that project. Yeah. And this is true. This is a big thing right here. Doing it even though you don't feel like doing it. And sometimes, it gets bad and you just want to take a day off or whatever, but just do it. Do a lot of, even when you don't feel like it, do it anyway. Like I go to the gym sometimes when I don't feel like going to the gym. Usually I feel like going to the gym, but there are days when I'm like, I don't want to go. It's usually when I haven't had enough sleep. Working on my personal projects, I don't feel like it. And then that's where I really struggle, is like trying to improve myself economically. I don't even care. As long as I have enough to eat and I got a roof over my head, I'm happy. But to be a viable option in the dating market, you're typically going to have to make a lot of money. You can beat this guy in the image here and have a confident enough attitude to approach and talk to women. Then you'll probably get tons of action. But You won't have a long-term girlfriend, more than likely. I have seen it happen. I knew this one dude who was homeless, and he had a long-term girlfriend. Yeah, typically you're going to have money to get that long-term situation going on. Anyway, that's all I got for this time. Thanks for watching. I guess, men are all toxic just because they're men. I'll see you in the next video.